I bring up Dave Portnoy because on his podcast, BFFs with Josh Richard and Brianna Chickenfry, they had been discussing some dating drama, some celebrity gossip. And she broke up with, I'm sorry, there was a breakup between Zach Bryan, country singer, who I listened to a bit on Joe Rogan Experience, and Brianna Chickenfry, who is some 20-something Barstool Sports social media influencer. And oh man, I'm still not used to these headphones. It seemed to be a really fucking weird breakup for a lot of reasons, but the reason that I tuned in to hear a little bit more about it was because she was offered $12 million and an NDA to not discuss any of their relationships. Now, this is interesting, right? A little bit of insight into a world that I don't have access to every day. Now, of course, if you want to understand reality, you need to figure out unknowns. And that is extremely difficult because I do not know what it's like to be a rich country music singer. But if you want to understand what reality's actually like, you need to put yourself in the shoes of a multi-millionaire 20-something country singer who has access to all of the money, power, and resources that somebody like that would have access to. And then you need to extrapolate. What does every day look like for someone like that? How much time are they spending traveling? Okay, so they're traveling, maybe they're working while they're traveling, but really they only have X amount of time in a day to focus on this, that, or the other thing. And very quickly, you can begin to understand how much about the rest of the world that you know about that this person doesn't know. And for someone to be offering you $12 million, that means they have to have made 24, right? They need to have cleared $24 million a year in order to pay you that 12. Now, yeah, of course, that's assuming that it's all upfront in one annual year. And don't get bogged down in the details, fuckface, all right? I do this professionally, so fuck off. And so for this, should I even talk about, I don't, their breakup. Okay, so a social media influence got broken up with in a very, I would say, horrible, disgraceful, dismissive way, just coming from a masculine man perspective. It's indicative of a weak individual. This has nothing to do with gender, but probably also someone who is being manipulated and controlled. So, knowing that, I also want to be charitable to him, so it's quite possible I only listened to her side of the story, and on the most recent BFFS podcast, you don't have to take my word for what went on. Feel free to investigate this yourself. But it seemed like this was not the first time that he had offered this type of contract and proposition to a female. Now that's crazy too. So now let's say Say it was all 1 year, 12 million for this one girl. Had another girl before, let's say that's fucking half that, 6 million. Maybe there was a one before that. It seemed like there's a pattern here. So that's 3 million. 12, 9, 21, $24 million he would be paying to girlfriends in hush money so that he would continue to propel this career. Now, this means he would need to make $48 million a year, pre-tax-ish, right? Because that's just a general rule. Whitney Cummings turned me on to that, another one of my friends. And that is very insightful because now, how much are you bringing in profit, right? Because these tours, all they talk about is top line revenue, but it costs a lot of money to set up these arenas, rent out these arenas, insure these arenas. And my guess is what we are dealing with, as we are always dealing with, is some sort of P. Diddy fucking ring of Epstein manipulation and power, pressure going on. And this little dickhead is allowed to go out there and fucking ruin girls' lives because he serves this bigger agenda. I don't know whose boss is. That's the part of this whole story where you guys should really be fucking waking up. Because, yes, if it's too good to be true, it's too fucking good to be true. It always is. Do you want to know where a good man is? He's at his fucking parents' house, living with them and trying his best to take care of them in this incredibly difficult time in American history. That is where the good men are. They are not standing on fucking stages talking about driving in trucks. They are walking the walk, and they're actually trying to fucking help people in this world. Anybody. It could be one person, and it could be themselves that they're trying to help. And that is the person you should be focusing your time and energy on, because surprise, surprise, motherfucker, the guy that's not grateful for any of the things that he has, guess what? He takes you for granted too. And I'm being harsh right now because I'm about to discuss the other half of this. Okay? So I'm just so tired of people that don't. What's the best way to articulate this? They never accept any of the blame themselves. They never accept the blame for every action they contributed in that led them to the reality or the current events that they are seeing play out before them. Because eventually, if you don't pay attention to them, your life is going to spiral out of control. And you are going to wind up in a manifestation of an experience that is life altering. And that experience is called the dark night of the eternal soul. Now, I don't usually bring up this experience because it is a very powerful thing that your consciousness has the ability to manifest into existence in your life. And what it feels like is such an oppressive, dark energy and time. Like, You cannot do anything. There is no longer a path forward. And inexplicably, it comes at a time where there is a crossroads, and you may not recognize the crossroads in real time. And the only way through is to transcend the experience and begin to become a higher version of yourself. And I believe for Miss Chickenfry, this experience and that time where she had to decide $12 million in cash, an NDA, not being able to speak with the freedom that you should be able to speak with, was not worth your dignity. And that's all it came down to. Miss Chickenfry considered herself more valuable than $12 million and an NDA. So in doing what she did, choosing not to accept the money, she killed the woman that existed for the past year. That woman no longer exists. The patterns that she fell into, serving him on his tour and taking a back seat to her own personal life. That person died when Bryan offered her a contract and she said no. And she began a new life. And that is why the experience of the eternal the dark night of the eternal soul is such a transformative experience, because there is no going back. But what it makes you realize is it's still the same person as before. But somehow, when you have gratitude for the experience, it unlocks this wisdom which you can climb to become a higher version of yourself. Now, I think that was certainly an abbreviated, very quick journey into that experience. And it may not have been her first venture into the darkness that exists within herself, but only through that pain can you activate the light within yourself that it alchemizes that pain into a purpose that will guide you into this new reality that you have just stepped into already, because you've already made the decision. It's so exciting. It's so exciting to observe that out in the world and kind of see there's someone to keep an eye on. There is someone I would feel comfortable having young women in my life be influenced by. Because here is someone who values themselves a lot more than you get to see publicly every day. And the person that will arise, I look forward to meeting. And all of it is really tied together in like one moment, this now. This intuition that I'm sure Miss Chickenfry will begin to cultivate, which she will then recognize was always there. She just wasn't paying attention to that frequency. And there is nothing that you can do to get someone to pay attention to that frequency. Because I've tried so many times. I've tried so many times to get Dave Portnoy to realize how manipulated he is being, down to the actual rotation of these manipulative events in his everyday life.